Alright, so stuck in 10-mile-an-hour traffic, so I thought this would be a great time to do something productive. So, law school's starting to make me, I guess, more anxious for social change. Not that I wasn't already pretty liberal to begin with, but I'm especially having problems with reading Justice Thomas's opinions in con law. The main problem, he's a broken record. He only has, one thing to say, and that's go back to the original text. We've gotten away from the original text. We need to go back and focus more on what was originally meant and not try and interpret things. I mean, he is the definition of a strict constructionist, and I have problems with that. And I was thinking about it yesterday. I actually posted something on Facebook. I was laughing because in one of the cases he was relying upon the Charter of Virginia of 1606, and then some more law from 1823, and was holding this up as this is what we need to get back to. I mean, he really, and it's so far for me, it's been across the board. I haven't really seen an opinion by him where he was advocating like, oh, we've previously got this wrong. He believes, strict stare decisis, and when it suits him, and getting back to the old school versions of the text. And it's really funny because, at least in the one case that we looked at, both of these laws that he's holding up is kind of like, here's the law, it's what it was intended to be, you can't go back and, rewrite it and change it, it's not up for interpretation. He would have been a slave at that time. And it's like across the board. It's like everything, the Second Amendment was written, back in the 1700s, and he believes that it is what it is, and there's, except for, stuff like Heller and the city of Chicago stuff, where they kind of dramatically expand rights, but, just kind of believes that this is the only way. And I have the same problem with, I'm not going to say Christians, because that's overbroad, too generic, strict constructionist Christians. I was thinking about gay rights, and I've been working a lot with Lambda this semester. Well, I'm one of the board members, and putting together programming and trying to raise awareness. And I really feel like this is where the LGBT issues and laws really where it's at right now, that there's so much going on in our community that's, transforming how I'm going to live my life and how my kids are going to live. And, I see stuff like, people like Mike Huckabee and, the Westboro Baptist Church just won a big case, which was obvious. I mean, for anybody who studied law, it was a First Amendment issue, and there really shouldn't have been any discussion about it. But these people have some very hateful things to say about gays and lesbians, and, a lot of times people look back, I've had a lot of people in my life look back and comment on, well, here's what the Bible says, and then, my response is always, well, it says stuff about, eating shellfish and mixed, threads, mixed fabric, unnatural fabrics and stuff like that. And their response is always, well, that's stupid, or, it's not really the same. And it's like, no, it is the same, because basically you're saying over the last 2,000 years that we as a society haven't morally evolved, and that we can't change. Life is one big social construction. I hate to break it to you. We're not innately born with an idea of family or religion or politics, or, man has only a few basic instincts, eat, drink, and survive. I mean, that's basically it. So everything else is learned behavior. And, even just in this country's history, we've progressed from, having slaves and women not having the right to vote to, freeing slaves and then going to, Jim Crow laws and segregation and then desegregation and, the age of affirmative action. And the same is logically true and, in my case, inevitable for gay rights. And people sometimes get upset when you compare slavery with gay rights. I think the discrimination, one on the same level, is similar. You're basically saying that X, Y, or Z is not equal to or as good as other people. And I think make no doubt that future generations will look back on those who opposed equality for gays and lesbians and transgendered people, and they will say, what the fuck were they thinking? Why did it take so long? The same way that 99% of people in America believe that ending slavery was right, and that desegregation was the right thing, and that allowing black and white people to get married was the right thing. I mean, nobody looks back on those social changes, nobody that I know, nobody that would dare raise their voice and says, I'm not sure that was the right choice. Society may have backslid a little bit. No reasonable person that I know of that I've talked to has said, probably should have kept slavery around for a little while. It had its uses. Nobody does that. And gay marriage and gay equality and gays in the military, it's all the same thing. It's, well, was it really hurting you, and was it fair? And the answer is no and no. So, I guess for those who are still out there and still kind of clinging to, religion, don't, as watching, there were some protesters in California outside of I think it was a mosque, and they were, chanting and yelling, go home, and, God hates you and stuff like that. And I thought, that's just a horrible advertisement for Christians, because I know a lot of Christians, went to school with a bunch of them, friends with a bunch of them, and that's not what the vast majority of them, I would say any of my friends, stand for. It's, it's this really perverted, radical Christianity. I mean, we talk about radical Islam, and people like to portray that as, a violent religion, but there were politicians from California that were attending this rally and saying, I support what you're doing, you're protecting America, you're defending freedom, blah, 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 and it's just like, I'm pretty sure that's not what Jesus meant. That's not what Jesus would do. I can't say I paid particular attention during Grable's class when we were in Bible, but I know that's not what the guy in the robe was talking about. I know that, and I don't go to church regularly, I don't read the Bible regularly. I know. It's kind of like getting the case summary, and you read it, and you may not know the finer points, you may not understand, all the finer points of law, but that's not what the judge said. Law school, you've ruined my life.